Ready as I'm gonna be, I guess. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay.
All right. We're live on you. I'll switch it over to me. And all right. I think we're good. Can you check the volume for me, Jamie?
Are we live?
We are live.
Good evening, everybody.
Well, hold on a second. I need to know if we have volume.
I can hear us. Does that matter?
Well, no, you're
Okay.
hearing us through the pieces.
Okay.
Let me. Oh, here.
Does that matter?
Well, no, you're hearing us through the. Yeah, we got sound. Okay, let me.
Alrighty, attention in the pits. All racers, report to the staging lanes. The show is about to start.
All right, there's the official.
Is that our new intro?
That's our new intro.
Cool. So what do you guys think of that? That's new to me. I didn't even know about it. So anyhow, good evening, everybody. Last week I wasn't here. I had to have a medical procedure, we'll call it. Basically, they put a camera in my butt. So I had to go get that colonoscopy thing and get that taken care of. But anyhow, all's good. I'm good to go. So I'm back at it this week, and we're going to discuss what happened or what my son did last week while I was gone. And several of you guys had messaged me and said that it was very interesting. You wanted to learn a little bit more about it. He's just learning this, so there's still a lot of gray area for us. But I think he does pretty good with it. He just, he's not familiar with the software and that kind of thing. But once he figures that all out, I think we're going to have a pretty awesome tool to use for developing products.
What's really cool about it is not that Jason is a dummy or anything, but he is very amateur when it comes to that stuff. He wasn't. He was more of a fabricator whenever he came into this world instead of doing what I do. So, if he could scan a part and get that great of a result without even having any knowledge on how to use the scanner, I would
That's
say
pretty impressive.
It's
Yeah.
really impressive.
Yeah.
So,
he was. He didn't really know how far to hold the scanner away or
Nope.
anything. So he was learning as he went.
And right there's the Indian head.
Yeah, you know what? It actually turned out pretty nice. I don't know if you guys can see this or not, but
Up here.
so that's off your scan, huh?
Yep.
Cool.
And I did nothing to it. I pulled it off and brought it straight in and just printed it.
Nice. So that's the one that he made. And here is the one that he scanned. So it looks pretty much dead on,
Right.
except for this one's chrome.
Yep. This one's shiny.
Yeah. So now we can send this back to Phil.
Yep. And Phil's also going to get our first scan test piece.
Oh, there you go.
So-
You know what? He's probably going to mount that right on his computer, right on the
Yep.
top of the screen. I'll bet.
I'm sure he will. And Philip wanted me to do this.
If I only had a brain.
So I got that for Philip.
And who's he playing that for? You or me?
I think all of us.
Okay, good.
But yeah, I added that one. I need to redo. It didn't come out very well.
So after using that thing, what is your input? I mean, what do you feel? How do you feel that scanner's going to work out?
I think it's going to work out awesome.
Okay.
Because, like we were talking about earlier, the detail.
Can you de-brighten the screen a little bit, the camera?
You got to go on to push the menu button down here.
Yeah. just a little. You guys are washed out because it's
then-
so bright.
Go to click OK. Middle button. Middle button.
We're doing a little fine tuning to our
That's set.
audio.
That's set.
And then push left. 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 And then go up. 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 Push set. Push set. I don't know why it's not changing. Here, I'll switch to me. Unplug it right there, and it'll bring up the screen on the. It's easier to do it that way. You get the look at my ugly mug again. Troy says, "Future's so bright, you gotta wear shades."
And it was bright. There's no doubt. So
Philip III said he thinks everything about it is great. He can see tons of potential. And
well, the biggest thing is it easy to use? And is it rapid? That's the key.
well, any 3D scanning is not rapid. There's stuff that you have to do.
Well, I mean,
But-
it's way faster than taking a pencil and a paper and drawing it.
Yes, and
So that's what I mean by rapid.
it's obviously, I mean, looking at this, it's not, I wouldn't say it's easy, but it's not very hard.
So what happened is you scanned that, right? And then you took that scan and so how do you transfer that scan into making that part? What do you got to do?
So the software will automatically generate the file, and it makes it surface points. And then from that software, which is comes with the scanner, that software then will generate that file. It will output that file, and it usually puts it out as an object file. And then what I can do then is bring that into Fusion 360, SolidWorks. I mean, really, any CAD software. And then once I do that, then it's the world is my oyster. I can, if I wanted to, I can take the nose, I can pull it out.
Okay.
I can make this more detailed. I can cut the bottom off of this and just have it just the head.
So do you have to have CAD to send that to the 3D printer?
No, you do not.
Okay. So you can scan, if you don't want to modify it, you can scan something and then send it to the printer, and you can size it to whatever size you want and then print it, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, that's pretty cool.
Yep.
And then, so the only reason that you would send it to CAD then is because you want to modify it.
Yeah, modify it, clean it up a little bit. If because there's, so you got to remember, whenever you're 3D scanning something, you have to. Yes, you can load it to a 5th axis CNC machine as well.
Okay.
But whenever you're scanning stuff, it is basically it's scanning the light, reflecting off the object. It's also scanning the actual object, as in almost like a camera. And then the bottom one, I forget what that one does, but I think that one does almost like a LiDAR, almost like a sonar type thing. So you got 3 different cameras on the scanner that are all 3 doing different things, and they will build that object that you're scanning as best as possible. But when you have something shiny, as you guys remember last week, I had to spray this to make it dull, because when you have too much light reflecting off of it, it can't scan it. It breaks up the signal in a way.
So it creates a void. It's almost like it's invisible. Don't see it.
Yeah. And then also too, when it's black, like pitch black, you can't scan that either because it doesn't see it as a color.
Okay.
So typically, companies now, they use a like an alcohol-based powder spray that you can spray on there, or you can use what I use is foot spray. It's cheaper.
All right. Whatever it takes.
Does the same thing.
Okay. So, so the thing of it is okay, that Indian head, let's say that you wanted to just make it bigger. You wanted it to be 12 inches instead of 4 inches or whatever it is now. Do you have to do that in CAD, or can you do that with the software? It comes with a scanner and then send it to the printer.
You can do it with the software. Sorry, my wife is distracting me. You can do it with the
She's our
software.
tech gal. She's trying to figure out why I'm so flush.
Not working. No, you're super bright.
Yeah. It might be because I'm underneath that light. I don't know.
Very well be.
So, but yeah. So the software is limited, or is it, or
It is limited. You have some basic control over it. You can orient it in a certain way. You can scale it. You can output it in millimeters or inches because different software packages use millimeters.
Sure.
Some use inches. So, but the slicing software for the 3D printer, that software is actually more controllable for scaling.
Okay, so if you scan that thing with the scanner software, you still don't have to have a CAD software. You can send it to the printer, and it has the ability to do some modifications too.
Yeah, but that's very limited as well. It will do scaling. It will do, like, I can slice it in half if it's too big, and I want it to be too big. I can cut it up in pieces, and I can print off certain sections of it, and then we can glue it all together.
Okay. I'm just trying to help these guys that want to buy one of these things, and I don't know anything about it. You know, this is your expertise. So
Yeah, so, I mean, if you really are looking in, or you're in the market to buy one of these, more than likely you've done what I've done. Went on YouTube, see the guys use it, and it looked easy enough to where someone like you and I can get ourselves into trouble by scanning stuff. And so,
yeah, I know just enough to get myself in trouble.
yes. And so I did more research after I did that. So I was going, okay, I want to be able to scan stuff. Not only do I want to scan stuff, I want it to be simple. I want it to be somewhat fast, meaning whenever you're scanning it, less cleanup. You don't want to go in there and be in CAD all day cleaning this up. You want it to be as clean as possible. So that makes you faster. So less cleanup. And then I took that and I went in further into my research and I started looking at, okay, what's a brand or a company that backs their stuff. Unfortunately, a lot of these companies are from China.
Oh yeah, most of them are.
99% of them are.
Right.
And that are affordable anyway.
Right.
You know, for a consumer like me, I should say. Like if I was doing this for like a big business and I was scanning stuff all the time and I was giving people data from these scans and giving them the models and stuff, then I would invest in one of those peels.
You'd have to do something. So this one here is basically a beginner's hobbyist.
Yes.
Scanner.
It's a hobbyist
But
beginner
it-
scanner, but it does.
But it can be used to do like what we're going to do, right? We're
Oh,
gonna,
absolutely.
We're going to make those intake runners for the stack injection.
Yes.
We're going to print those. So I seen that last week you were scanning the flange and you were scanning the throttle plate section. So what are you going to do? Put those in your CAD now, and then you're going to design that tube to go from those two parts? Is that how you want to do it, or how you're going to do it?
Yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to, exactly what you said, I'm going to scan both the flanges, and then I'm going to put those flanges, I'm going to make what they call datums on my software, CAD software, to where I want them to be at. And
Okay.
then that way I can build that tube to where I want my dimensions to be, the flow, the curvature, all that stuff.
Okay. All right. And then so when you were scanning those flanges last week, you were having trouble with them. What was the problem with them?
So I think I didn't have enough powder on them.
Okay.
I think the surface was too shiny, And again, like I said earlier, if it's too shiny, it's not going to scan very well. And so what was happening is and Jason, again, was learning when he was
Right.
scanning it. So as he was scanning it, can we send pictures to you on podcast? You can send them you can try to put them on the chat if you can't, if it will let you, Troy. If not, I don't know if you're on Facebook or not, but you can send them to me or my dad, and we can try to grab those off Facebook. It won't let you post pictures in chat. Okay.
I didn't think you could on YouTube.
So yeah, if you, I never tried, so I don't know. If you want to send that to me or my dad on Facebook, that will work as well. Please. Anyways, so where was I at?
So you're talking about Jason that. you
Oh
know,
yeah, so Jason, he didn't know what he doesn't know because he's never done it, and I didn't give him any instructions. I was going to scan everything that night, and he was just kind of like, "I'll do it." Okay, that's perfect. Nothing wrong with that. So I handed it in the scanner, and
So do you think that because Jason didn't know, do you think it was because of a depth problem or too fast? Or
I
what?
think it was a depth problem, too fast. But not only that, he doesn't understand a lot of whenever you're scanning something out in space, that scanner doesn't know where that part is at in relative space. It thinks it's just floating. So whenever you scan something, you do your first scan, and when you go do the second scan, you have to start in the same general area. That way, it's easier for the software to,
Create points.
create points, but more importantly, line everything up.
Right.
So if you have it upside down and off to the side, and you started it off in the middle, it's going to pick up that part and scan it. And whenever you're done, it's going to take that part and it's going to say, "Well, you scanned it this way. I think it's this way, but really it's this way."
So what has to happen is it just like whenever we just started talking about this again, and you couldn't remember where we left off at, and I had to remind you, and that's exactly the way the scanner works.
Yes.
It has to be reminded where it left off and then
Right.
start all over again.
Yep.
Gotcha.
And,
Okay.
and like Jason said, we were working on a desk that I had all the stuff on, and we only had this much room as well.
Right.
So,
Right. Well, that's okay. But I
Yeah.
mean, so you guys got some data, you just didn't get all you needed.
right. And I'm going to scan it again whenever I am going to actually work on it, and this time it will be more pinpointed and
So now, if you were to take that object, all right, and mount it so you could stand it straight up and down and hold the scanner away from it 12 inches or whatever they recommend, and have that on a turntable, and you turn that turntable on and it turns real slow, and you turn the scanner on, would that do a better job?
I don't know necessarily about a better job. It will definitely scan it.
Well, what I'm trying to do is find a simple way. Everything that I do in the shop, I try to keep it as simple as possible, because anytime you complicate anything, then you can't duplicate it, number one, and number two, you can't teach somebody else how to do it. So you have to keep it simple. And that's what I'm trying to figure out right now. How can we dummy that down? Not saying we're dummies, but I'm just saying that we can make it easy to learn, easy to transfer to a new user.
Well, it goes along like the same way with that, like with the CMM. For something like that, I would set it up on, I was just going to do a quick scan last week, so I wasn't really prepared.
Okay.
But at work, where I work at now, on my CNC CMM, I have jigs. It has what they call the triangle effect. You have 3 points.
Okay.
You set that part on there, you know that it's flat, and then you have stops. And then you can put that part up there, and then you can, for instance, like what I do is I use my first stop as my start point. Mm-hmm. So there, you would always start at that. Then at that point, now you're more controlled. You can take that part with a scanner. You can pick it up and put it on its side. Scan it. Because what you're doing is you're always going to start at that point. So now you got that first starting point always on that one point. So now, but you can only rotate it on, like, we'll say it's X axis, which is one axis, like a horizontal axis. You can only spin it that way. Once you go like this, now you can't start at your point over there.
Right. So, yeah, so there's a lot for me to learn, and I'm just, my brain's spinning right now trying to figure this all out because, like I said, what I try to do here is I try to simplify things because the simpler the better, and it's easier to teach, and right now that sounds pretty complicated. So, for anybody to succeed at anything, first of all, they need to know how it operates. Secondly, they need to know how to collect the data and diagnose it, and then they have to be able to process it. So it's not, right now, because I don't know what I don't know, that's why I'm asking you the questions. I don't see a simple procedure yet. It doesn't sound simple to me.
And John Monin just says, sounds like GD&T. First pick a 3-point plane, then a 2-point plane, and then a single-point plane defines the third plane.
Okay.
And that's exactly what I do at work as well. So that's exactly what you're doing.
Yep. So as long as you have, a known starting point.
Yep.
And a known distance.
Yep.
Unless you're using a CMM.
Well, see, with the scanner, what's nice about the scanner is on the one side of the screen, you have a, I guess in a better word, a gauge, and it tells you you're too close or you're too far away, and and it's done by graph. Everyone understands a graph. So the bigger the graph, the better signal you're getting, and it shows that on the left-hand side.
Okay. All right. Well, see, that's something I haven't seen yet, so I don't know. All right. Well, I mean, that's because I've had a couple guys call me or not message me and wanting to know about that scanner. They were pretty interested in it, and so I'm just trying to pick your brain so that maybe I can get them more information so that they know how it works. And because the one guy wants to use it for body work, and I don't know what that advantage would be, but he's thinking he wants to use it for making or straightening out body panels.
Right. And honestly, if you get a good scan on that, and I guess if you're going to cut it out on a laser cutter or something, like a piece of wood that has that form, that way you can keep putting that form up against what your body working, that way it looks all the same, then that's not a big issue. But yeah, I don't know what else you use it for body work wise. Like making custom pieces is one thing, but like I'm thinking with body work, I'm thinking like, you're sanding down a fender to make it flat.
Well, I think what he wants to do is, he wants to scan an original panel, okay, one that's been untouched and off of a car that hasn't been wrecked or whatever, and then he has that scan, and then he can, whenever he gets a wrecked car in, he can scan the wreck panel, and then he can find out where all the low and the high spots are, and he knows how to straighten it out. That to me sounds like it's overcomplicating the procedure because we do body work here and we don't do it that way. We just get a hammer dolly out. But if you're trying to make it exactly perfect, or if you're developing a new panel, maybe that's why he wants it. Maybe he's making new panels and he wants to make adjustments in CAD, and then he can make a drawing, and then he can make his panel to whatever the drawing is. I don't know. I honestly don't know. I'm just looking at it from 50 feet and just trying to figure out what he's thinking. But anyways, so with the scan that you did to the Indian head last week, it had some voids in it. What'd you do to fix those?
We rescanned it,
Okay.
and
Did you do it during the show? I don't think I seen you do it during the show. Did you do it after the show?
No, I think we did it live.
Did you?
I think so.
Because I seen you were showing the voids and stuff, but I didn't know if you were
well,
rescanned it.
I think we rescanned it after I was showing everyone the voids. And also, that software has gap repair
Okay.
up, and you can set that gap repair. So, like, if you want it to fill any gap from, we'll say, 1/8 of an inch up to 2 inches, it will look just for that, and it'll ignore the smaller gaps. But I have it set from 0 up to whatever default is. I don't even know what default is. I never changed any of it because I wanted to grab all the smaller ones.
Okay. And then, all right, well, so the flanges and stuff, the data that you got, can you use that still, or are you going to have to start from scratch?
I'm going to have to start from scratch.
Bummer.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, not a big deal, but I just
No.
wondered. So if you had a file that you saved and you want to go back in and start over again, or I should say, add to it, you have to start over again, or can you add to that file?
So whenever you're, like John Monin says, his scanner uses data that's already scanned as a reference point to add new data. So if you scan too far from known data, the scanner gets lost, and that's essentially what happens with this one. That's why I always say start at a general point, because if you always put your part in that general point and you start from there, it's easier for it to pick it up. You're not getting lost.
Okay.
But so whenever you scan something, I know like the scanner that we had at work that now Sam has, that scanner will it will pick up from like a previous day's scan. This scanner will not do that.
Okay.
So you have to work on that until you're done with this scanner.
Okay.
So I can take multiple scans, and it doesn't have to be like right after another. Like I can scan one thing, work on it for a little while, and then as long as I keep that software open and I don't move that part off the turntable even or anything, because like John or Philip III said, my turntable has pickup keys on it.
Okay.
Has different numbers and letters and grooves in the plate so it can pick up where it left off. But if I work on it and I come back to it, as long as I don't move any of that stuff and I go to scan again, it is still in real time.
Well, this is a different subject, but you know that's just like CNC porting cylinder heads. So I think the reason that SD Performance quit doing cast iron heads is because the factory heads have too many variables, too many variations in them, and you can do a digitized port of a port that you ported on a factory cast iron head and write a program for it, but the computer or the CNC machine doesn't know if there's material missing or if there's areas that are thin or whatever. Where when I'm doing it by hand, I can listen to the die grinder and I can say, "Oh, that doesn't sound good. It sounds like I'm getting ready to blow through," and I'll back off in that area a little bit. Machine doesn't have that ability, and so you're going to scrap maybe 2 or 3 out of 5 castings because the machine's not going to quit. It is going to grind that port out to what you have it digitized to and programmed to do. And it don't care if there's material there or not. It's going to run that path. And so that is a scary thing whenever you're trying to do CNC porting or whatever. And so a lot of guys are asking me all the time, why haven't you got a CNC porting machine yet? Well, unless you're doing a known casting, like my castings that I'm doing right now, I can CNC port those comfortably and not worry about them. Like my Ram Air 5s and the new Ram Air 3 and Ram Air 4 heads. But Edelbrock heads, I don't know that where their water jacket's at without blowing through or finding it by accident. The factory heads, even if I know where they are, you have voids that are from casting core shifts and then years and years of use that maybe somebody ran with water instead of antifreeze, and the port eroded behind the port wall, you know, in the water jacket area. We don't know that. And when you start cutting on the head, you find it. So I think, and that's what happened with me on a set of heads I did for my brother. I didn't know the casting was that thin, and I blew through the port. So now we got to fix them, and that's what will happen with a CNC machine too. And I think that there's a lot of, I think that whenever this stuff is used in the manner that it's intended, it works really, really well, but it doesn't have any fudge factor in it.
Well, when you're doing CNC, you're taking out the human aspect of it.
Yes.
And
It's repetitive. It does the same thing over
right.
and over.
Oh, it's going to be your best employee.
Yeah.
It never calls off unless you tell it to call off by not doing maintenance to it. And then it's going to really call off.
Yeah, boy.
But not only that, though, the CNC machine is dumb. That's why I tell everybody. CNC machines are dumb.
Yes.
They don't
are.
know anything. You tell them what they know. And so if you tell that machine to go down 2 inches, it's going down 2 inches. Whether you want it to or not, if you screw up, it's going to go.
Well, and sometimes even it's not even your screw up. If it sees a void, like whenever you scan that and it's got a void right there, well, it thinks that that's a hole, and it's going to go right through there.
Yep. But I will say that software packages have came a long way, even from 5 years ago. I mean,
They have.
the simulations on these are outstanding. You can run a simulation on a lot of these programs now, and it will show it. If you know what you're looking for, have to know how to look at the toolpath and read the toolpath, and then also look at the part and see, because if you examine that, you can catch a lot of mistakes.
So you still can't eliminate that's where I'm going with this. You still have to have the human touch. Otherwise, if it wasn't that way, then we could just have a robot load a casting into the machine, turn the machine on, and let it run. Well, the robot doesn't know any more than what it's told to do.
Right.
And so I don't know. You know, I think CNC stuff is great. Don't get me wrong. I love it. And my heads are done on a CNC, but you know, sometimes we get a glitch where a valve seat hole or pocket is in the wrong location. And why does that occur? You know, it's the same program. It's on the same machine. Why does that occur?
And
I don't get it.
And yep, and that happens.
It happens a lot.
And well, that's the thing too. So, like for instance, my CNC router at home, it runs off my laptop off the internet. It is a internet-based Gerbil or GBRL or GRBL or something. GBRL, I think it is. But it's ran off of the internet. So
That's scary.
it is very scary
So
because you're putting.
now you're pulling it off the cloud.
Well, essentially you are, but you're loading your your G code in, and it's reading it, but it's sending that signal through a cord to your machine. But a internet connection is making it work. So if you lose internet connection, God only knows what it's going to do. Is Jesus take the wheel at that point?
And that's the reason the guys on the Big Bang Theory show get all geeked out whenever they turn the light on around the world.
Yep.
'Cause they know how hard that is.
So
It's got to bounce off this satellite, and off that substation,
Right.
and boom, it comes back to you.
So, like for me, I watch it like a hawk because, I think they call it a LAN computer, or what I call it is a controller that is specifically on the machine. That way, there's no internet connection. You
Perfect.
load that G code into that controller, and it controls the machine. The only way for it to have a hiccup is now you have a computer essentially controlling that machine, which is in CNC. I mean, that's what's in it. Computer numerical controlled.
Right.
So, but anyways, if that goes bad, then it's Jesus take the wheel moment. But the odds of that going bad compared to an internet connection going bad is slim to none. The internet connection is way, way, way weaker than an actual.
That just says, that takes me so far away from my KISS theory. That no, thank you. I'm not interested. I want everything under the roof.
Well, and
we'll
that's
call it.
And that's why whenever you're like your Haas machines, huh?
Somebody said, oops, losing you, and I was too, the feed was glitching.
Huh.
Yeah, and I've seen Philip III said it, but it says excellent connection on my thing, so I don't.
It's back now, but it's doing that thing where it goes in and out again.
Huh.
It just must be this area.
Yeah, I don't know. Our internet speed's good. I checked it.
Yeah, but when did you check? Was everyone online at that time? People might be getting home and getting on. Usually, when you're in a rural area, people start getting on when they get home and everything.
Slows it down a little bit.
It slows it down, yeah.
It could be. It could be.
Because they don't boost these areas up. They should, but they don't because it costs them money.
Oh, yeah. They want your money, but they don't want to do anything for you.
Right. Anyways, where were we at? Talking about computer. Oh, so Haas machines and your Routler machines, they have a controller on the machine that you actually physically take your G code and put it in to the machine. So that way you have full control over the machine, and the G code or NC code. It depends on what the machine takes. And then you can control everything from that controller. It's not like that valve cover I screwed up.
Right.
That valve cover I screwed up, I think it was either A, the computer or the internet glitched out on me and created a bump, and I just drove down to the customer's valve covers engraving them, and it put a big hole in them.
Yep.
Or another thing it could have been is I didn't have a good enough end mill on there, and it grabbed the aluminum and pulled the end mill down into it. Hard to say. That's why I want a machine that has a controller on it, because I can eliminate now it was not the internet.
Right.
It was definitely
so
something
your router
I did.
goes through the internet?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yes.
Well, that's not good.
No.
Yeah, we can't even run the laser and the CNC at the same time because my laser interferes with it.
Huh.
Yeah, it'll make it just shut off.
Wow. Yeah, that's not good. Well, hopefully we get the building up this year and we can get a CNC machine.
Yes.
That's on the list.
I hope so too, because I'm going to be out here just making all sorts of stuff.
We're gonna have to learn first, but yeah, once we get that thing learned, we'll be spitting out parts like crazy. So, all right. Well, so then the CAD, once it goes to CAD, I mean, we're getting off a little bit off subject of the scanner, but the CAD part of it, can it fix any kind of voids or anything like that, or you have to do that in the software with the scanner?
No, that's where you do it in CAD.
Okay.
You can fix certain voids, it's hard to see with the 3D print because the 3D print, unfortunately, and Philip, I don't know if you can see that. See how the bottom of that is quite yucky? And then the bottom right here even, it's hard to see. It's not smooth like it is right here. And that's because of, again, I just threw it in there because I was just curious. I wanted to see what it would do just straight.
Well, this one's
out
got
the
a
box.
bunghole, so I don't think
Yeah.
that one looks bad at all.
No. And I mean, it sits pretty much flat. But so what happened was why this looks the way it does is because it was reflecting off the table and it created a void underneath here. And I could have put it in CAD and fixed it, but again, I didn't want to. I wanted to just take raw data and throw it on the 3D printer and see what would happen.
Right.
And I mean,
That looks pretty darn good.
yeah.
I think it looks awesome.
And now I can scale it. This is 1-to-1. I know that was one of the questions. Let me see. There we go. I know that was one of the questions last week. Does it scan 1-to-1? And as you can see, it does. It might be off by a little tiny bit, but nothing that, if like, you'd have to really sit there and observe it for a while to pick it up like, oh, this is just a little off.
Well, that might even be our print settings too.
It could be. I mean, so what can, thank you. Can you, like this is, you can feel the print layers.
Yes.
Can you make those tighter so they're
You-
smoother?
You can with a different size nozzle. That's printed with a 0.4 nozzle,
Okay.
and that's standard. You can switch it to a 0.2 nozzle, but when you run a 0.2 nozzle, you're more susceptible to clogs, and you can't go as fast, and it will give you a nice, pretty print, but not much better than what it is now, honestly.
So,
But yeah, so like John Mon said, his scanner will fill voids, but not the way he always wants them to be filled. And, and that's what this one did. So last week when we did fill it, it had a what we called a battle wound on the bottom of the chin. I left that there. I didn't remove it. I left it there. And when you printed it, because I knew how this was going to print, because I printed so many things, and I knew the general characteristics of the filament and everything, I knew that it wasn't going to matter. It was going to look this way no matter what. So what it did was the reflection, I didn't get enough powder on the chin, and so it was chrome. And it reflected back and broke up the signal. So then it had a tiny little spot right here on the chin that it didn't scan because it didn't pick it up.
yeah, it's easy to fix. Just sand that right off there, put some body
Yep.
filler in there, and you're good to go.
Oh, hell, with this, if you took a file, sanded that with a file real quick, and
That'd
did
go
this,
away.
It'll,
It'd be
it'll
good.
go away. And if you wanted to keep it this way, or if this was printed out white and I wanted it to look chrome, I would get that Bondo primer, that sandable Bondo primer. After I file those down, you would never even know.
Yeah.
It would actually look just like this. Once you paint it, it just won't look as chrome.
Well, we used to do that when we were doing the FDM parts.
Yep.
So, yep. Yeah, interesting. So, yeah.
I will say the one thing that I do not like, and John, I'm sure you probably experienced this with your scanner as well. It will round pointy features whenever you create the model. So what I mean by that is that hairline on this one is more defined than it is on this one. The hairline's there, but this one has more of a indent on the hairline where this is more smooth. It will do that because of how it's reflecting off there and everything. And you could probably get a little tighter.
Apparently, this is what Troy wanted to send us.
Oh, okay. Well, here.
Looks like you made a pencil holder.
It's spark plug holder. That's what he was talking about. Okay.
Yeah. You know what? It is the light over here, I think, because it's reflecting off my phone, too.
Yeah, I think it is, 'cause you're, yeah.
Yep. So, yeah. There we go. Get it out of the light. But it is, these LED lights are too bright for this. So, but anyway, cool.
John Bones says, anyone else remember Quantum Leap? Calling someone a nozzle is my favorite work safe insult.
Oh, somebody a nozzle. You nozzle.
That's right.
Are you a 2.0 or a 4.0?
John Dornbush says, get yourself a good PC and a copy of Mach 4 software. Should be able to hook it up right to your CNC. So I did try doing that with Mach 3. And honestly, my machine, for whatever reason, and I don't know if it's because Mach at the time didn't have very good Gerbil outputs, because my machine would actually start glitching, or not glitching, but like jittery. It would like jitter as it went across and started doing the path. I might try Mach 4. I heard it. They made updates to it and everything, but I think you pay for Mach 4 now. I'll have to look at that. It's been a long time. I use Open
SolidWorks,
Builds
don't you? Oh,
for my CNC router, because their G-code reader is free. But I'm dabbling in Fusion 360 now. I've been successfully doing my whiskey smokers with Fusion 360, and that is all straight from Fusion 360. I don't use any G-code sender or anything. Fusion 360 has a post processor that goes to my machine, and I run everything from that.
what kind of questions we got over there? Anything?
John, you have to set the resolution really high to avoid that, but it can make the model file large. Yeah, so I set mine all the way as high as it'll go, and it still makes mine. So that's probably the difference between mine scanner and a next tier up scanner. My scanner doesn't get into the precise details, but you know what though, it gets you close enough.
It looks pretty darn good.
I mean, honestly, for what we're going to use it for, it's going to be damn good enough.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So now when we do those intake runners, we're going to print those out of that carbon fiber material. And is it going to be airtight and watertight?
Yes.
Okay. And will it hold up to the fuel?
Yes.
Okay. The gasoline and alcohol, or?
Yep. All chemicals.
Oh, cool.
Yep.
All right.
And that's the next thing, and that's where my designing comes in play for that kind of stuff. Because I will set the wall thickness. I will we'll make the wall 1/8 inch thick, we'll say.
Okay.
And I will continue that throughout the whole entire elbow, or whatever you want, plenum, if you want to call it that.
Runner.
The runner, yes. I will continue that 1/8 inch all the way down to the bottom. That way I know that one, and then whenever I go to print it, so there's a lot of things that go into this. I'm just putting everything in a big nutshell. But whenever I go to print it, then I can pick how many walls it will print on the outside. I can also print the infill, which is what will go in between those walls that are on the outside. So if I pick like a 30% infill, you'll have small little voids in there all the way around the wall. I can also print it at 100%, where it's the whole thing. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Right.
But like with this right here, a lot of people will print. This was 20% or 15. Yeah.
No, I think that's actually like 10.
Oh, so this is 10%. So
What's that mean?
if you were to cut this head in half,
Yeah.
you will see hexagons in there.
Okay.
They're voids.
And which
it
saves
just
you material.
Saves
but-
material,
yeah, right.
and also if you want something to be lightweight, like
Right.
if you wanted to make a handle, you can,
Right.
So there's different things to do to achieve a lot of different things. John Monin, which scanner do you have? So I have the 3D Maker Pro. That's the company, and the model. Thank you. is I always want to say Moose, but it's the Mole. Mine is the Mole. 3D Maker Pro Mole. And
They name them after farm critters or something.
well, they have moose. They have a moose. They have a whale, which the whale is for big, like you want to scan a car.
Okay.
It will easily scan a car, but you can't scan anything like this.
Really?
Yeah. That's why the Mole, it won't scan like easily a car, but it will scan a block, like an engine block. But it also will scan things like this.
You know what's going to happen someday? This thing right here.
They
you're
already
gonna-
have it.
You're going to be able to scan anything you want with this.
They have it. They haven't perfected it yet, but
Right.
they do have it.
Yeah.
There's a place in New York,
And then AI is going to be able to take that and scan and then do all that you do and do it for you, and you just punch it in your machine.
already there.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
So they have a AI that if you go on, you have to pay for it though. But you can go on there and say, I want a 3D image or a 3D file, STL file is what they call it,
Right.
of a castle with Mickey Mouse and Minnie Mouse on top of it. It will spit you out that model. And then you just take that file,
And
put it on
put
your
it in
printer.
your printer. Yeah.
Yep.
Sooner or later, it's going to just do it for you. You just tell it to send it to your printer. You don't even have to
Well-
download it.
They were getting close to that, but Bamboo put an X in that plan for a lot of people because Bamboo made their firmware only Bamboo firmware now. It used to be open, and now it's not. So
I know that the Chinese just released their AI this week. I think it's actually too early. I think that they probably don't have it perfected yet. It's called DeepSeek, and the market freaked out because they were thinking that the Chinese are way ahead of us, which I think they're just trying to play the game because Trump just signed that deal with who was it?
Korean guy.
No, well, the Japanese guy or Japanese guy, the that Altman guy, I think it was, and then I want to say Apple, but it isn't Apple. One of the other big companies. Anyhow, so they just signed a $1 trillion deal, and I think the Chinese seen that and they don't want to get left behind, so they've released their software or their AI sooner than they wanted to. Huh? I don't think so.
Well-
I think that our AI is way ahead of them.
Here's the thing that I noticed a lot with, like, for instance, with the company I work for. The company I work for has a lot of ATM machines. They have a lot of machines. And a lot of the parts get made in China. Now, China is copying a lot of those parts.
They're copying everything. Trust
But
me.
here's the kicker. I've seen us copying China's stuff.
Well, you know what? The Chinese are actually capable of producing a very high-end product. The problem is I think that I think that this is all planned. I don't think they want us to be successful with their products because they want to dominate, and then eventually they're going to bring out the high-quality stuff. I really think that's what's going to happen.
I honestly think that we get, depending on what it is. For instance, I watch a guy on YouTube. He went over and bought an Xbox straight from, I think they make them in Japan. And he bought, I'm sorry, not an Xbox, a Sony PlayStation. And I think that's a Japanese
Product,
company.
yeah.
And he went over there and bought it, brought it back over here, and bought a U.S. PlayStation. The Japanese one was faster, better graphics, and when he tore them apart, he noticed that the the boards and everything were different. So I think they not purposely, I think they give us lower grade stuff because we put so much rules and regulations. Like, I'm sure those boards had like more lead in there than to give the whole state of California cancer, according to California. So,
Well, that could be possibly what it is too. But the other part is too, I don't think that honestly they want to give us their A products. I really don't think so. I think that's all by design. And I got schooled on this because a customer of mine heard me talking about the Chinese stuff, and so because he's actually involved with international trade heavily, he was schooling me on the fact that Chinese actually have the highest grade of stainless steel in the world. And all the precision instruments like scalpels and that kind of stuff for medical grade stainless is made in China, and it's very, very, very high quality. As a matter of fact, it's better than anywhere else in the world. So my question to him was, because he was kind of saying, well, you're not really right about saying the Chinese stuff is garbage. I agree, but the stuff that we get is garbage. Why are we getting the garbage? Except for possibly the medical grade, I'm sure that our scalpels and everything are as they should be. But, when I go buy a rotor for my car and it comes out of China and you put it on and you drive around the block and the damn thing's thumping and pulsating worse than the one you took off. I mean, why is that?
well, Phil Third just said the same thing you just said with the steel and everything. I think it's because price. They know that we want as cheap as we can get it.
Well, that's part of it. The other part is their government subsidizes them. That's why they can sell it so cheap. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to sell it as cheap either. So, there's a lot of bureaucracy and behind the scenes things going on that we don't know about. And I think that hopefully that stuff gets turned around here in the next couple of years, and we can use Chinese products. You know what? If they can provide me with a quality part that doesn't fail, fits properly, works right out of the box, then I'm all in. I will purchase their products. But right now, I am so disgusted with them Chinese parts because they fail immediately, or they don't even fit, or you literally have to redesign the part to make it fit. So I don't know. I got a bitter taste in my mouth right now with the Chinese. And I'm hoping that gets better.
Well, honestly, I don't care if it gets better or not. I think that we lost sight of the whole World War II mindset in the United States. World War II, we had so many people that were pro-America. They wanted to keep everything here. We were the best at everything. We were...
And that was part of our president,
Yes, and because he's our leader. I mean, that's the way that they should be portraying us as. And it makes me sick that we don't think that way anymore.
Well, so what happened to that? I mean, you know how I brought you up, and you know how you brought your son up. Where did we go wrong? What's going on? I mean, I'm not saying you're bad. I'm not saying your son's bad, but why is things so bad in the United States now?
Well,
Why are people like wanting everything given to them instead of wanting to give to their country? I don't get that.
yeah, I don't either.
I don't understand.
I mean, I kind of regret not going to a military, but I kind of don't because I'm a sissy when it comes to that. I don't want to get shot at.
Well, none of us do.
So, but at the same time, though, I'm a proud American, and I will stand up for my brother and sister. And if I have to go to war, then I'll do it. But I didn't sign up because I was like, well,
I tried to sign up. I wanted to fly the jets. I wanted to be that guy, but I couldn't. They wouldn't let me in, so I didn't get to go.
all my buddies, I would have been stuck with them, and they all are jarheads, and they wanted to go and be on the front line shooting guns and everything else, and I'm like, nah, I'm pretty good with all that.
Nah. Yeah. That's all fun stuff.
Yeah, it's great stuff.
Shooting guns.
I like shooting guns, but I don't like when the guns shoot back at me. But I mean, I think too that the kids nowadays, like, even when I say kids, I don't even mean kids. I mean like my generation. I'm 40 and younger. We've all had so much technology at our fingertips that now it's easy for us to sit behind a screen and just do like
Nothing.
these. Well, essentially, yes.
Yeah. You know what? Think about whenever I grew up as a kid, okay? Whenever I was 8, 9 years old, what we used to do is we would go through the trash before the trash man come on Monday or whatever it was, Sunday. Well, they never come on Sunday, but Monday morning or whatever. So on Saturday and Sunday, we'd go around and we would get used like lawnmowers out of the trash or bicycles and all kinds of stuff. And what we did was we would take all that stuff back to our house and we would tear it apart and we would build a go-kart or we would build a chopper with our bike. We did all the old bikes and we cut all the forks off and we stuck them all together. We couldn't weld them, so we had to smash them with a hammer and make them all fit together. And it was really cool to make your wheels stick way out there in the front. Kids don't do that anymore. I don't even see kids riding bikes anymore, hardly.
Well, not only that, like, well, I mean, hell, whenever I was growing up, you couldn't go through anyone's trash because they called the cops on you for trespassing or going through the trash or whatever. And it's like, you have some cool stuff in here. One man's trash is another man's treasure.
Well, the thing of it is that, you know what? Maybe that's partially because of the way that you were brought up, maybe different than me, where, we would go knock on the door and ask. We didn't just go dig through their trash. We'd say, hey, can we take that lawnmower? You guys might have just went over there and tried to take it out of the trash. I don't know.
Well, yeah, we did.
So-
But we didn't think anything because when we thought it was trash and it's out on the curb, it's like,
Well, it is trash, but it's still their property. It's on their property. You got to ask permission.
well, right. Looking back at it now, it makes sense. But at the time when you're young like that, you just go, well, throwing it away. It's on the side of the road.
Yeah, we just didn't think that way, I guess, back then. I don't know. It was a totally different era. But yeah, so I mean, we've lost that ingenuity. Now, that's one thing that's really awesome about Luke. He is, I mean, you remember when he was a kid, he had that go-kart, and he made 10 different bodies for that thing.
Yep.
And he used duct tape and cardboard.
Yep.
So, I mean, he was using his brain,
Right. Well, and that's what, granted, now you own the yard now, of course. You had to buy it after I grew up. But we used to build tree forts in the neighbors' trees
Right?
because we didn't have any trees in our house.
All right.
So he had some sweet pine trees, and we would build a fort in that. But we went up to the plaza that was up there, and we'd go through all of their scraps that they'd throw out, and we'd take the wood back, and I
Yeah,
would
and
scrounge
that's
up
good.
nails and everything else.
So you guys kind of did it still.
Yeah.
Do you think the kids do it today, though?
No.
Yeah, I don't know.
I know they don't. I mean, my son, it was a little bit harder for him in the neighborhood because he didn't have a lot of friends that lived there. But I went out and played with him as much as I could.
Well, when he was at your house, he didn't have a whole. Well, there was other kids in the neighborhood there.
Not his age.
Huh.
Yeah, they're older.
I mean, right? Unfortunately, you and Chastity separated, so he had two parents, different locations. But but over at Chastity's house,
He had his brothers and sisters, and he had friends that lived by. Yep.
yeah, because there was a school right at the top of the hill where he lived
Yep.
over there.
But
so-
he was so infatuated with video games.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's what ruined America. I really do.
Well,
And I know you love playing video games, and I get it, but it just I can't do a video game.
I think the parenting is different with the video games now. where parents used video games as a babysitter.
I agree.
And like when Blake was at my house, he knew that if it was daylight out, we were outside.
Right.
And maybe, but it was the way I grew up. I didn't see a problem with it, but maybe some people do. But whenever I had friends over, we'd have a big bonfire in the backyard, and we'd all be drinking and whatnot and having a good time. We weren't being stupid or anything, but just being responsible adults. And my son was there, and he'd be outside hanging out with all my friends.
There's nothing wrong with that. You did the same thing.
Yeah.
But-
But he didn't play very many video games unless I allowed him to.
Okay.
But at his mom's house, it was a babysitter.
I know he was into it pretty heavily there when he was 16 to 18.
Yeah.
And that, so whenever you had your video games, honestly, we didn't even have to tell you. I mean, but if you guys were on them for very long, all we did was say, hey, you got to put the game away, and you guys would go outside and play.
Well, I wanted to be outside.
Yeah, I did too. We didn't have video games, obviously. So,
Well, we had video games, and me and my friend Nick would play them, but I would much rather be outside playing backyard football, basketball, baseball.
that's way
riding
more fun,
bikes.
you know. And then that texting thing, whenever that was it's still a big thing. You can be sitting right next to each other and texting each other. What the hell's up with that?
Yeah.
I want communication.
Well,
I want to talk.
I think that's the whole thing with the kids nowadays. They can get on and be what I call an internet tough guy. It's easy for you to
Oh, we got those.
run your mouth on the keyboard instead of in person.
Yeah. My day, you run your mouth, you got a fistful of knuckle sandwich. Or
Yep.
a face full of knuckle sandwich.
Yep.
That doesn't happen anymore.
And Donkey Kong is still a thing, believe it or not.
Yeah, you grew up with Donkey Kong.
Yeah. And they still make Donkey Kong. Nintendo Wii, I think it is.
Well, the first game that I ever played was Pong.
Yeah, Pong. What was that? Battlestar Galactica or whatever?
Yeah, Battlestar Galactica and Asteroids and but that was because you guys played them. I mean, I played those with you guys once in a while, but I don't know. It wasn't my thing.
Old School Twist said we used to get the cops to chase us and then let them catch us all out of breath. And when they asked why we were running, the response with a big smile was to see if you guys would chase us.
Heck yeah. We were a little more ornery than that. We used to throw snowballs at the cop cars in the wintertime and make them chase us. They could never catch us.
Phil the Third said Pong. He had to walk a mile to go to the bowling alley to play it.
Uphill both ways, I'm sure, in the winter.
Yeah, in the snow up to your nipples. And Mark Marshall said Asteroids was the bomb. Yeah, Asteroids was fun.
Yeah, that was fun.
For a very simple game, that was actually entertaining.
It was fun.
Pong was entertaining too because that was like two people could play against each other. You weren't playing against the computer. Like Pac-Man. Pac-Man was fun for like 30 seconds, then I got bored of it.
Yeah. Yeah, you want competition.
Well, it's 7:09.
All right, guys. Well, hey, I don't know what we're going to talk about next week, but we will be back next week for sure. I appreciate you guys hanging out with us again tonight. And
Only had a brain.
if we only had a brain. So, sorry we got a little off track here talking about personal stuff there at the end, but you know what? That it all ties into what's going on with that scanner and today's AI technology. The kids today, if they get into this stuff, like we were into building wooden go-karts to ride down a hill, or modifying our bikes or whatever when we were kids, or I was going to junkyards and buying parts so I could make my car faster. That's what I did when I was a kid. I was 15 years old. I was in the junkyard. But anyway, these kids today, if they learn this AI and they learn this scanning and computer-aided drawing and everything, holy cow, things are going to change big time in the next 20 years.
Well, and now that you said that, it reminded me that supposedly I haven't even begun to look at it, but this come with software to where if I were to scan, like if this had legs and arms on it,
Yeah.
I could put with that software, I can make this into a video game.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's what I'm talking about. That's just so cool.
Yep.
So there's unlimited possibilities with this stuff for sure, and I'm hoping that we can utilize it to advance the high performance arena, which I'm sure we can. There's no doubt. I shouldn't say I hope. I know we're going to do that. It's just figuring out the programs and mastering it and getting to that level of expertise to make it, like I said, keep it simple, stupid, so we can move fast and we can teach others that come here to work and do it. So.
Well, this will handle a lot of the heavy lifting with designing. It will, for instance, if instead of me sitting there trying to design a combustion chamber on CAD to what you want it to be, you can do like what you did with your Rammer 5 head. You form it, I scan it, now it's on.
Yeah, and that is sweet. You know, I can hand make the part the way that I want it, and then we can scan it, and then we can actually clean it up and scan for, you know, because you're doing it by hand. It's not always perfect. And as a matter of fact, I got something I need to do that with right now. My water crossover pattern, the core on that, I need to have that scanned because it doesn't fit perfectly together, and I want to get rid of those voids in there. So.
All right. All right. Well, Philip Third said exhaust flanges.
Yep. And headers. We need to design an actual cast iron manifold for the Rammer 5 so we can, in a header kind of a style. I don't want it to be a full header because it'd be too damn heavy, but I do want a cast iron manifold for the guys that want to run on the street and don't want to run headers. So we got to do that too. But I got a lot of projects. You ain't got time to go to work.
I know Philip Third wants me to 3D print exhaust flanges so he can start building your exhaust headers.
Yeah, well, you know what? We can do that too. I can send you some exhaust header flanges. I get those cut out. As a matter of fact, Troy does them for me. So,
Yep, I think that's we're all caught up. So,
all right.
Again, thanks for hanging with us, guys.
Yep, it was fun. Hopefully, everybody comes back next week and then we can talk about something else fun.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, guys. Well, have a good evening. Thank you for hanging out.